Hey y'all, it's Jenny. I've got a quick tip that I want to share with you today. I want to show you how to stretch your dollar and use less ground beef when you're making a meatloaf or with any recipe that calls for ground beef, like lasagna, what else? Hamburgers, any of those things. So we'll get started and I'll show you what to do. So here's our mixture. We're going to make a little meatloaf. We've got our ground beef, our salt and our pepper. We've got our onions.
Yeah, everything. I'll tell you, this is a little different than normal ground beef because I've been researching gyros. We really love eating gyros, and I want to learn how to make gyro meat. And I have found that if you add some salt and mix it in very well into your ground beef and let it sit, right, that it basically sort of emulsifies it and makes it a lot denser, so it's a lot better for a loaf, right? So this has been sitting in the fridge. That's why it's oxidized a little. But other than that, it's just spices and onions and ground beef and salt. Okay.
All right. So we added our eggs, 2 eggs.
And this is normally when we make meatloaf, this would be a pound of meat, but this is more like half a pound of meat. But I've got a cup of cooked rice, which was a 1/3 cup of rice, and the rest was water. Sure. Yeah, Jenny wants to tell you that this is organic rice. We have all sorts of rice at the house because of food storage. And depending on your taste and your pocketbook, you might use more meat and less rice. You know, this is probably more rice than most people would probably like in their meatloaf. But it's just personal preference, right?
And by using the rice, you're cutting out a lot of that extra fat that you would get by having more ground beef in your recipes. More carbs, but less of that fatty.
So we're just going to incorporate this, make it into a loaf just like normal, and we're just going to bake it for supper.
Alright, so here's what it looks like when it's finished. You can tell it's more crumbly than meatloaf, and that's because we used more rice than the meat. But the rice absorbed a lot of that meat flavor, so it's going to taste the same. And it's actually really good. And that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this tip.